Lesson 4: Marxism. In-depth discussion of classical Marxism, Authoritarianism, hegemony, and other cultural studies. Marxism is a social, political, and economic philosophy named after Karl Marx. It examines the effect of capitalism on labor, productivity, and economic development and argues for a worker revolution to overturn capitalism in favor of communism.
Hello and good morning everyone. So today I will discuss to you the classical Marxism. So what is classical Marxism? Classical Marxism refers to the economic, philosophical, and sociological theories expounded by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, as contrasted with later development in Marxism, especially in Marxism to Leninism. This is, however, philosophy of a particular kind. As Marx put it in his thesis in Feuerbach, the philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. He therefore saw his work as society and a socialist political project. Mode of production, the form in which products of society or means of subsistence are produced, exchanged, consumed, or used. Mode of production refers to the varied ways that human beings collectively produce the means of subsistence in order to survive and enhance social being. There are six modes of production. The first one is foraging mode of production, in which society is organized in tribal structures that share production and consumption of goods. Second one is slave mode of production, in which human beings are owned as property. The third one is feudal mode of production, and has a noble or aristocratic ruling class that owns land and control over the peasants and serfs that provide labor. Fourth is capitalist mode of production, in which there is private ownership of the means of production by the dominant capitalist class, i.e. the bourgeoisie. The fifth one is socialist mode of production, which is based on control of workers who are the ruling class. The sixth and last is communist mode of production that exists in classless society. Base and superstructure are two linked theoretical concepts developed by Karl Marx, one of sociology's founders. Base refers to the production forces or the materials and resources that generates the goods society needs. Superstructure describes all the aspects of society. Forces of production, forces used in the production process, which are human labor and means of production. Means of production, tools, machinery, buildings, land, technology, raw materials, etc. Relations of production, social structures of the economy that determines how income, goods, and assets are distributed. Legal instruments determining ownership and control. Formal and information associations. The relationship between base and superstructure is twofold. On the one hand, the superstructure both expresses and legitimates the base. On the other, The base is said to conditions or determine the content and form of the superstructure. That's all for my discussions in classical Marxism. The next is Althusserianism that will be discussed to you by Mr. Matt Cyril Gromo.
Okay, so good day everyone. I am Matt Cyril Pedalino Grumo and I belong to the fourth group. So our group was tasked to report all about the Marxism and I was tasked by my group mates to focus on reporting or discussing all about the Althusserianism. But before we start on our main discussion, let us first have a small idea or knowledge all about the history and also the background of this Althusserianism. Okay, so the word Althusserianism was coined or created by Louis Althusser. So who is this person? So Louis Pierre Althusser is the creator of the Althusserianism. He is a French Marxist philosopher and was born in Algeria. So during his college, he studied at École Normale Supérieure University in Paris. So in that university, he took philosophy course and became a philosopher. So during his times, he was considered as one of those Marxist philosopher. And according to the history or the data, one of Louis' greatest contribution in the field of literary theory was through his theory of ideology. So yes, he created his own view of what is and what does the term ideology literally means. So he also explained on how does ideology work or function in a certain environment or in a society. So in our present times or in the present days, we mostly remembered Louis Pierre Althusser through his most famous works or contribution, and that is the theory of ideology, just like what I have stated earlier. But let us take note that the theory of ideology has two other concepts. So that is the ISA and the RSA. So let us start with the ISA. So what does ISA means? So it is the ideological state apparatus. So what is this ideological state apparatus? So this is just a term that is used to denote institutions that is formally outside the state control. So examples are the family, media, trade unions, law, and also the education. So the next is the RSA. So what does RSA means? So RSA or the repressive state apparatus. So repressive state apparatus consists of the army, the police, the judiciary, and the police system. So those are the two concepts of the theory of ideology. So the theory of ideology by Louis Pierre Althusser was just expanded or SJ upgraded in one of his most famous essay during his time. So in his essay, he uses the term ideology and explain it in various ways. So that essay was entitled as the Marxism and the Humanism in the year 1963. So that essay was published on 1963, and in that essay he explained the ideology. So let us know what is his explanation on the ideology based on his essay. So his first explanation is that according to him, ideology is a practice through which men and women live their relations to the real conditions of existence. So what does that mean? So according to Louis, by any contrast, ideology does not reflect the real world, but rather represents the imaginary relationship of individuals. So this is the relationship or the interconnectedness of both genders, the women and men and women on a certain society. So that explains the ideology. So another one of his explanation is that according to him, ideology is this the representation of image, ideas, and concept. So what does that mean? So it means that for him, ideology helps us to understand our world, our way of thinking, our way of expression, and all. So that is the Althusserianism by Louis Pierre Althusser. So thank you.
Good morning again, everyone. So I'll be the one to discuss to you the hegemony. So what is hegemony all about? Hegemony refers to the dominance of shared system of ideas, values, and ethics within a society or community during a particular historical period. The concept of hegemony originated in ancient Greece, and the European socialist movement revivified it at the end of 19th century, most crucially in the work of the Italian Marxist Gramsci. The concept of hegemony is used by Gramsci to refer to a condition in process in which a dominant class, in alliance with other classes or class fraction, does not merely rule a society but leads it through the exercise of intellectual and moral leadership. So, when we say hegemony, it is the dominance of one social group over another, so that will acquire and support the interest of individual in society as a whole. An example of hegemony is the student government leadership in school. Organic intellectuals represented the interest of working classes. Organic intellectuals work to help people develop an alternative to a capitalist culture. Among other strategies, Gramsci suggested how organic intellectuals might use popular cultural forms and signs to marshal working class revolutionary energies, dispose capitalism, and construct a unitary proletarian culture. That's all for my discussion in hegemony. The next is post-Marxism and cultural studies that will be discussed to you by Miss Rejoy Hesta.
Post-Marxism and cultural studies. But before we proceed on our discussion, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rejoy Hesta from BSED English 2A. Macroby 1992, she observes that Marxism is no longer influential in cultural studies. Actually, Marxism is a major point of reference for the whole cultural studies in United Kingdom has undermined. When we say undermine, it weakens. It has been weakened the influences of Marxism in United Kingdom, not just from the viewpoint of modern critics who attacks its theological prepositions, its meta-narrative status, its essentialism, economism, and Eurocentrism. Actually, there's a lot of critics who criticize Marxism. And more than this, as Hall 1992 points out, he said on his statement that Marxism and cultural studies was never have a prior moment to be called as perfect theoretical fit. He criticized how Marx became silent or did not talk nor understand to study culture, ideology, language, and the symbolic. Hall also said that Marxism is a mode of thought as an activity of the critical practice. So let's proceed to post-Marxism. Post-Marxism first appeared in Ernesto Laclau and Chantal Mouffa's theoretical work, which is the hegemony and the socialist strategy. So, on this scenario, they point out that they are deeply one of the influential contributor of post-Marxism, which is they explain that their purpose is to change or to leave behind what Marxism do in the past and change it for something better, as well as to transform Marxism into post-Marxism by adding to it all the theoretical development from especially Leninism, postmodernism, and Lacanian psychoanalysis. And there's a lot of people said that cultural studies is post-Marxist because it advocates in a positive sense by Laclau and Moffat. Therefore, Laclau and Moffat made a concept which is discourse. So, when we say discourse, it is central to the development of post-Marxism. So, for us to understand what is discourse, so here are the example. The first example is the first person asks the second to pass him or her the bricks. On the receiving brick, the second person adds it to the wall. Means the second person easily catch what the first person trying to implies, which is to add brick to the wall. Okay? So, the totality of this operation consists a linguistic moment, which is the request for the bricks, and non-linguistic moment, which is adding the bricks to the wall. Also, a second example is if I kick a spherical object in the street, or if I kick a ball in a football match. So, the physical fact is the same, but they have a different meaning. So, this systematic set of relation is what we call discourse. Okay? Discourse is what a person thinks to a certain things, or it may have a meaning that need to understand. So that is a discourse. Thank you.